If you like what we do here on Skiba News Nation, please like and subscribe, and also share with others so we can grow the biggest truth-seeking community on the internet. Huge shout out to all of our Patreons out there. If you like bonus content, you want some extra Skiba News Nation stuff, please go to patreon.com/Skiba News Nation.
Welcome to Skiba News Nation, bringing you unfiltered views, news, interviews, discussions, and more. And now, here's your host, Jeremiah Skiba, award-winning musician and son of Rob Skiba.
With the son of the legendary Rob Skiba, Jeremiah Skiba, what's up?
With my great and insightful co-host, Mr. Jake Graham.
Dude, someone should do conspiracy news. It would be 10 times better than what you see on television.
It's like I don't even want to wake up.
He's on a quest for truth.
Why does every American school let a random company walk in and photograph every single kid year
That's a little creepy when you put it like that.
after year, like clockwork? Why is it normalized that a third-party corporation collects a high-resolution image of every child in the country?
Wow. I've never thought about it like that before.
They claim it's harmless. But look into who owns them. Follow the money and you land in the same place. BlackRock, Vanguard, the silent architects with stakes in defense, surveillance, and data firms. Why do these financial giants want the largest photo database of American children? Facial recognition needs training data, massive data sets. The younger the better to track identity over time. What better supply chain than schools? A captive population, full compliance. If the goal was just prints, the industry wouldn't be consolidated under the same umbrellas that shape governments. The same firms investing in predictive policing and biometric identification. Why does every school hand over the face of every child to the forces that shape the world from the shadows?
After doing a quick research here, I found that there is a company called Life Touch Photography, which is owned by Shutterfly. Shutterfly is owned by Apollo Global Management, and Apollo Global Management, the biggest three investors, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. Evil knows no ends.
Hey Skiba News Nation family, welcome to episode 144 of Skiba News Nation, your weekly source of the latest news, controversial topics, conspiracies, forgotten history, and so much more. I'm your host Jeremiah Skiba, and now my co-host Mr. Jake Graham. Welcome Jake, what did you think of that crazy video?
I think he covered a lot of bases there.
Well,
Wow.
and it's crazy. Some of my most embarrassing photos in my life are from school photos. So they have the most crazy looking photos of me. And yeah, they own them forever.
Was that your Grinch smile?
Maybe. We won't get into that. I do like the Grinch because he hates Christmas.
But yeah, man, we're going to cover a couple different topics this week, so you ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
In our live stream Sunday, we covered how Netflix is trying to acquire Warner Brothers, but apparently the hostile takeover attempt of Warner Brothers by Paramount is being backed instead by Jared Kushner and the Saudis. So this is the competing studio. Very interesting. Opa, have you heard any more on this studio takeover?
No, just basically what you just got through saying. I mean, they've got a lot of investors. You know, Paramount's only about a $15 billion company, so they got to have a lot of people backing them. and one of them is the Oracle. Well, the dad that founded Oracle. I don't know why my name.
You know what's crazy is they have a whole Warner Brothers park at Abu Dhabi. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
And it's like a cool indoor theme park. And I think they're making a Disney one there, right, Opa?
Yeah, they're doing a Disney in
Disney Abu Dhabi, my friend.
Yeah, but they've got a long list of people who are going to provide money, including the Saudis and Kushner, and they're basically Paramount is saying, hey, look, you guys, I don't think you did a fair thing with our bids, so we're going to do a hostile thing. We're going to take it straight to the shareholders. We're going to offer $30 a share, and there are a lot of other benefits because the offer from Netflix includes stock, and so it's part cash, part stock, and we feel like you're going to, you shareholders are going to make more money with the cash offer than, that in stock, because stock can go down and your value can go down. So, they're making a big push for it and trying to convince the shareholders to vote against the takeover from Netflix. And I don't know. I think they have a good chance, and we still have problems with FTC. My personal opinion is I think that if Netflix were to take over Time Warner, it would be a big monopoly because they're pretty huge. Netflix is, and it would make them so big as far as the streamers and studios and stuff. That it would be a problem. And then, of course, all of the movie studios the movie theaters are really upset because they feel like they'll get fewer movies into their theaters because Netflix will put them on Netflix. And even if Netflix puts them in the studio, in the theaters, that they wouldn't keep them there as long as they're doing now, and so that means less revenue for them. And of course, the movie studios are really reticent about it. And the other thing is I think Trump has a kind of like final say, and I think he's leaning more toward Paramount. So I don't know.
American made, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because it's the forefront of an internal struggle of these different ideologies. So you have like the Obamas and this like Netflix, super organism or whatever it is, because all of the content and media that they generate, it tends to always be of this certain flavor. And then you have this competing, head of an amalgamation of different ideas and cultures, the Paramount takeover, and these are just the forefront of the media arm of like larger political and social structures. So speaking of hostile takeovers, check out this clip.
We cannot pursue terrorism, or we cannot pursue this armed resistance as a way to get independence. The worst thing for a Palestinian is not Israel, it's the other Palestinian with an AK-47. Another Palestinian with an AK-47, aka Hamas, is so dangerous for the average Palestinian because it becomes almost like a thug society. It's like whoever governs is the one with the weapon, and you can't build a society like that. And that's really, unfortunately, the situation in Gaza, before the war, after the war, during the war, even today. So yes, absolutely they're terrorists. People will say that in Saudi Arabia they are terrorists. The Hamas people are terrorists. The Emiratis will tell you the same thing. Hamas are terrorists. You're not a resistance fighter, you're by definition a terrorist because you're instilling fear in people without any rule of law. I happen to be also Palestinian, come from Palestinian parents for hundreds of years, and I can tell you that that's not how resistance looks like. This is absolutely, with no hesitation, Iranian proxy terrorism. I get the Western idea of it, which is, oh, these poor people, let's support them because they don't know any better. It's almost racist. These protests are almost racist. They have this soft bigotry of low expectations. We do not expect much from the Palestinian. They can kill, they can do whatever they want, they can do October 7th, and, they're always oppressed, and therefore they can do no wrong.
Oh, a controversial take there from a Palestinian himself, and I think it kind of shows the middle road of ideology and how that topic is so divisive because people are painted either far right or far left on an issue. When the truth of reality is answers are sometimes much more complicated than one side's right and one side's wrong. Any comments, gentlemen?
No, I just think it's crazy. It's a crazy war over there. It's always going to be war, I think.
Yeah, when you have clashing culture and ideologies and countries with ulterior motives, all investing in a certain small area of the world, it gets very interesting. Speaking of interesting, I know in our live stream we covered some of the ways that AI, how robotics can kind of move in creepy ways. Well, check out this. It's Unitree's R1 and G1 humanoid robots competing in an acrobatic showcase. Check this out. Wow, so you're going to need to learn to fight Kung Fu if you got a RoboCop coming after you.
Not if you have a gun.
Man.
Yeah,
Not
if you've got a big shotgun, yeah.
Yeah, it depends on where the takeover happens. Are you downtown Sacramento or are you in Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like Indiana Jones against that saber guy.
Now, there's a takeover of a different type happening. It's the financial reset, and these series of videos that you're about to watch are going to kind of illustrate how serious of a moment we're at in today's world in terms of financial structure and stability.
They're going to print money. What does this mean? It means the dollar is going to be weaker. I need you to hear this because you're going to get blindsided by it and you're not going to know what happened. They're going to do what's called expanding their balance sheet, which is code word for quantitative easing, which is code word for money printing, which is code word for the dollar is going to inflate and get weaker. So if it's sitting in a bank account just idling, it is going to become weaker. I need you to hold assets. I need you to hold assets. If you don't own a home, if you don't own gold, if you don't have crypto, if you don't have some form of stock investment, you need to. You need to, because here's one thing that's going to happen. One of two things, and both roads lead to Rome. One, we print money. This could happen from December all the way to March. We quantitative ease, we expand our balance sheet to add more money into the economy, which simultaneously weakens the dollar while adding more credit and create more debt so that our debt-based economy can keep operating. All right, that's number one. But number two is we see a system snap. Stock market, AI bubbles looking crazy. Job market looks terrible. We could see a system snap. Something where the bond market goes kablooey. Something that creates a 2008-like effect on the stock market and other markets. What that means is they're just simply going to print money right after that. So here's what I would tell you to do right now. I would have your money and all assets that aren't exactly connected to the stock market. I would have a very little allocation in the stock market right now. I do not believe in it long term. But if you're planning on holding it for 10 years, go crazy. Here's the point. When we print money, assets go up. And the moment you hear the word quantitative easing, I need you to be ready for the quantitative easing rise. We saw it from 2020 up through 2023 in the stock market. We saw it from 2008 onward through 2018. The stock market, the housing market, every asset you can own from a watch to a car to a business went up in value. If we print money, assets will melt up. If we don't see money print, but we see system snap first, that means melt down followed by melt up. This all may sound a little bit confusing, and it also may sound a little doomsday-ish, but the thing about it is we have to print money. We're going through a liquidity crisis. Look at the repo market, look at what different banks, look at what Jamie Dimon is saying about cockroaches in the kitchen. We are walking into it as we speak, and I want you to be prepared for it and not reacting to it, or not being like, why is this happening? This is what is going to happen. We are going to quantitative ease. We are going to expand our balance sheet. And this means you need to be diversified in your assets. And if you don't own any assets, try to get an asset. And if you don't make enough money to even get close to owning an asset, you should make sure you're in a job that in a recessionary period, you're not going to lose. You know, we've been seeing layoffs. We've been seeing people getting let go from their job. Like, you need to make sure you have security in your position, your career. But that's the message for today. They're going to...
Okay, so that's the message for today, that they're going to print quantitative easing, and this ties right into somebody commenting on this change throughout history of empires rising and falling and how their denomination has been treated historically. So we got the younger guy's opinion. Here's the older guy's opinion, right? Sorry, Glenn Beck.
History. There's something new that has happened. The entire globe is riding the same wheel at the same time, okay? We're all in this debt cycle, and this has never happened before. The cycle always begins the same way. The first step in this debt cycle is discipline. Discipline equals prosperity, okay? It goes right into prosperity, and every great empire starts with discipline. Rome did, you know, rebuilding after all the wars with strict budgets and silver coinage and land reforms. It helped restore the battered middle class. Dutch Republic did the same thing. They invented modern finance while keeping spending in check, turning a swamp into the world's largest trading hub. Then the British Empire did it. After the Glorious Revolution, it brought fiscal stability and a gold-backed pound that the world trusted for over 200 years. When that fell, America did it. After World War II, our debts were manageable, our currency was solid, we were backed by gold, our productivity was unmatched, and we prospered. That's stage one, discipline into prosperity. And prosperity, if not guarded, always leads to the second stage, complacency into excess, okay? So success creates this fatal illusion. The moment, you know, that where we all look at each other and go like, this is great, it's going to be like this forever. It's always been like this and it'll always be like that. Rome began borrowing heavily to pay for endless bread and circuses. France funded the palaces and the pensions and the perpetual wars through loans it could never repay. Britain, in the late 19th century, took its global empire for granted and levered itself into World War I. Then came World War II. And then America, beginning in the 1970s, untethered the dollar from gold and discovered that debt could replace discipline. So the second stage of the debt cycle is the age of entitlement expansion, imperial overreach, cheap credit, and political bribery disguised as compassion. Any of that sound like we've been there, done that? The Dutch called it windhandel, the trade in the wind, paper promises that replace real production. We call it stimulus, easy money, deficit spending. Different words, same exact sin. That leads you into stage 3, financialization. That goes into fragility. This is the most seductive stage. Rome debased its money until it was worth less than 2% of the original silver. The Byzantines watered down their unshakable dollar, if you will, and confidence collapsed. France printed their money backed by land until they were worth less and used as wallpaper. Weimar Germany did the same thing. They destroyed 1,000 years of savings in 18 months. Japan, 1990, papered over its real estate collapse with 30 years of zero interest rates. And America, after 2008, discovered this intoxicating illusion started by George W. Bush. I can violate the free market system to save the free market system. That's quantitative easing. Money conjured up without cost, without any restraint, without any consequence. In stage 3, Nations convince themselves they're immune to any kind of gravity. Okay? This time it's different. We can manage this debt. Well, modern tools, you just don't understand. They'll, the rules no longer apply. You don't understand. Really, you don't understand. The old rules always apply because math is math. And stage 3 always ends exactly the same way wherever it's tried. The markets no longer trust the promises they're being fed, which leads us into stage 4, the breaking point. Every empire eventually reaches a moment where its debts cannot be serviced. They can't be inflated away quietly. They can't be rolled over without consequence. Rome reached it when they froze prices and shattered the last productive parts of its economy. France reached it in 1788 when it can no longer borrow. And that whole thing, came to a head. Britain reached it in 1931 when it abandoned the gold standard. Weimar reached it when inflation ate the soul of the nation and extremism took over. Japan reached it when its bond market effectively became nationalized, propped up by its own central bank. And right now, America, Europe, China, Japan, and every other major power, listen to this carefully, have all hit stage 4 at the same time. Never before in human history has this happened. The bond markets are shaking. The currencies are all volatile. Politicians are praying that no one notices the numbers, that they no longer add up. Stage 4 is not coming. We are now living inside the opening act. This is so important. Yesterday, there was a story that said that this is going to be the biggest Christmas season ever. And I'm wondering to myself, I see the prices. I go to McDonald's. I go to the grocery store. I was in Walmart this weekend. I see the prices, and I'm looking at the prices. And every time I see the prices, I'm like, how does the average person afford any of this? And yet we're spending, and I don't understand it. And I fear that we are doing what the government is doing. We're just spending because we think we can get out of it. Then comes stage 5. It's called the reset. Every debt system ends in one of 3 ways. They inflate the money so they can pay off the debt, and that's just an absolute wipeout. Weimar Republic did it, France did it, Rome did it, just a wipeout. Then there's a hard default and political upheaval. Russia did that in 1917. Argentina did it over and over again. War leading to a new monetary order. That's another one. The Napoleonic Wars, the British gold standard, World War II, Bretton Woods, all of that. But there is always a reset, always a new order that is born from the ashes of the old. And here's what makes this moment unprecedented. Rome collapsed by itself. France collapsed alone. Weimar collapsed by itself. Britain declined while America rose. It was always one country coming down and another country coming up. This time, all countries on both sides, the free world and the not so free world, there's no one rising. China is drowning in its local government debt. It's never going to say this, but it's a paper tiger. Europe is fractured and coming apart at the seams. Japan, demographic time bomb. America is politically frozen and insolvent fiscally. So for the very first time in world history, every major civilization has reached its peak of the debt cycle. This time, all at the same moment. No one's coming up.
Anyways, go check out that interesting breakdown of Glenn Beck. I think it's interesting to see the different people analyzing the same situation. But have you guys noticed the prices at the grocery store going up?
Yep, I sure have.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I
it's
think
a telltale sign, right?
Yeah, I think Beck has, very, very, very good points. I just see everything going down the tubes, so to speak, around the world.
Well, it's no coincidence that there's a lot of other things lining up, so to speak. Check out this clip.
Council formally adopted my peace plan and officially endorsed the Board of Peace. This is a board like no other. It will have the heads of major countries, I think all of the major countries. I hope Your Highness will be on the board. You'll accept, I hope. But the Board of Peace will be something that's never even been thought of before. And it's covering Gaza, but it'll end up covering large portions of the world. And I was honored to be chosen the chair of that Board of Peace. And I think...
Just 1 second, sorry. I've been joking about this for many episodes, is how much he seems to want the Nobel Peace Prize. And it's to the point where he's like, well, fine, you're not going to give me the Nobel Prize. I'm going to make my own board of people, and they're going to make me chair of it. That'll be my prize. I'm going to make my own peacekeeping organization.
Yep.
You'll see something that nobody's ever seen before in terms of the status of the board. There will never be a board like the board that we're going to be announcing. Everybody wants to be on the board, and it'll end up being quite a large board because it'll be the heads of every major country, and the United Nations passed it. I guess unanimously, you can say. China, which was against it, took a pass. Didn't vote against it, and Russia, which was against it, didn't vote against it. So we appreciate it because one negative vote and it doesn't happen. So people were shocked to see that it was approved, and that was a great honor. It's a great honor for me, I will tell you. I think it's something like nobody's ever even imagined. So it's called the Board of Peace, and watch for it because it's going to do some fantastic things.
President Trump has proposed a so-called Board of Peace to temporarily oversee Gaza, but it's still unclear who would be on the board and what exactly the board would do. By the way, former British Prime Minister Tony Blair was suggested for a leading role, but now that's in doubt. One thing is clear, though. We know President Trump says he will chair the board. So could this concept be a viable path forward for the region?
And the United Nations Security Council has endorsed Donald Trump's 20-point plan for Gaza, which outlines a path to an independent Palestinian state. The UN resolution allows an international stabilisation force to enter the Strip and the establishment of a board of peace that would be led by the US president.
We welcome these next steps and we continue to back in the ceasefire, which is so important to peace and stability in the Middle East.
President Trump called it a moment of true historic proportions, but Hamas has rejected the plan. Russia and China abstained from the vote but did not use their veto powers.
By the name of the beast. See, John Graphic describes this government, this entity that he's going to rule over and rule from. It has 7 heads. And later on in chapter 17, it says they have 7 heads, there's 7 mountains, which I find is interesting. It has 10 horns, which refers to nations or dominions, we're told later on. It has 7 crowns, which means it has leaders or rulers that go from 10 down to 7 and ultimately become consolidated into the power of one man. These rulers will give all of their power and authority to this one man who is nothing else but a placeholder, a puppet for Satan. So we're told these things about this entity that's coming, that's going to rise out of the ruins and the remnants of the Roman Empire. His origins will be from ancient Rome, but it'll be a confederation of 10 dominions or kingdoms, that it will have multiple leaders, but they will be reduced down to one leader who will be empowered to rule over all the rest, and his rule will be a despotic, totalitarian, authoritarian rule. And as a consequence, lots of bad things happen on planet Earth. You see, John said there were 3 signs. The first sign was the woman that we talked about in verse 1. The second sign is this beast. The third sign is the 7 last plagues that will fall upon the earth, that we'll get to, I'm figuring, by January. But if you view all of this chronologically and ontologically, the final empire appears to be an outgrowth or a progeny of ancient Rome. And this for many years led many people to identify it with the Roman Catholic Church, because the Roman Catholic Church is one of the last clear emblems of the Roman government, the Roman Empire, because even many of the terms that are used to identify the leadership and the facilities and so many things within the Roman Church had just simply been subsumed by the Roman Catholic Church. I mean, Pontius Maximus was the title of the high priest of Jupiter, and now it's the title that they use for the Pope. And many, many other things like that. The Pantheon, which used to be built to the Pantheon of the gods, is now a church that has the statues of all the saints, where it used to have the statues of the various gods, and so forth and go on. I mean, I could go on with this for hours, and so I'll save it for next week.
But we're going to have the heads of the Board of Peace, and I think it will go long beyond Gaza and the Middle East. I can see that going long beyond. There'll never be anything like this in terms of, I know you all have wonderful boards, but this is going to blow it away. It's going to blow them all away, and it's going to do some really good. So in the coming months, the Crown Prince and I are going to ensure that the ceasefire and everything else that's going on that's so positive in the Middle East, hard to believe. I mean, I've grown up, peace in the Middle East. I used to hear peace, peace, peace in the Middle East, but never happened. All the momentum now is toward a great, glorious, and lasting peace, and our commitment to fulfilling the 20-point plan we developed together will be the crucial foundation for achieving that bright future, and it's being worked on right now as we speak, and we're actually in stage 3 and 4. It's not going to be, just divided down so simply. We can be long advanced on some of the things that we say we're going to do. We can take them out of order in a positive way, and we've shown how it can be done with responsible nations like the people in this room, these incredible people in this room, setting aside their differences, seeking common ground, and pursuing a better world for all of us. In that spirit, it's my dream that we all get together and enjoy our life, and we're going to put some of you on the Board of Peace. Everybody wants to be on the Board of Peace. They said, would you be the chairman? I say, I'm pretty busy too. But whatever we can do to have peace in the Middle East, it's worth it. But everybody wants.
Okay, so the Board of Peace. What do you guys think about the Board of Peace?
I think it's very interesting. I wonder how you could sign up to be a member of the Board of Peace.
I would nominate you, Jeremiah.
Thank you. Would you, subscribers? Let us know in the comments.
I'd vote for you.
Yes. 2 votes already. Come on, guys. Let's go.
All right. Well, the Board of Peace, very interesting. Now, to hear from the other side of the crazy aisle, or at least as has been alleged against the Candace Owens of late fame, this has been a very interesting interview she had with Russell Brand, and there were some clips out of this. Now, listen, here's my theory on Candace, guys. It's one of two things. She's actually 100% genuine, and she actually believes everything she's talking about.
She thinks she's Charlie Kirk. She wants to be Charlie Kirk so bad. That's what I think.
Well, yes. Whatever mission she's trying to accomplish, she's either genuine, or if she is some kind of like psyop plant, then the things she's saying are the very topics that they intend to burn in terms of the public perception. And so either way, she's either actually finding juicy tidbits and interesting conspiracies that could link to some truth, or the topics that they want blacklisted, they're having the person that they are publicly kind of annihilating in terms of credibility and all of these different alt news people having to come out and disavow her. And so it's very interesting how she's being propped up as a divisive thing in the conspiratorial conservative kind of conversation. But check out some of the comments she made in this recent interview with Russell Brand.
Global story for 3 days, and the White House has chosen not to comment. What does that signal to the population?
When you're saying things like, were Israel or French forces involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk, and that, you know, Brigitte Macron is a man, and that's connected to these nefarious ulterior forces that are ultimately in power. It's clear that these things relate to power, because if you've got the power to have Jeffrey Epstein killed in jail, make it look like a suicide, and have it so that people sort of just forget about it, or do a global pandemic and lie at the beginning and then have people just forget about it, or maybe, you know, have Charlie Kirk murdered and just forget about it. What the hell is going on with world leaders? In what ways are they compromised? So I guess in the end, something that Whitney Webb, who I'm sure you agree is a pretty bloody good journalist, would say is, where is the corroboration? What are we seeing that's indefatigable? What are we seeing in the case of were Israel involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk? Is there some connection to Israel? Do you think the nationhood of Israel is fundamental in even issues as seemingly diffuse and only really connected through you know, and you being the person that's reported on them, as Brigitte Macron's true identity and Charlie Kirk's murder? Do you think these things are connected?
Yes, I think it's all connected. And I think in many ways we already live in this sort of one world government system. Maybe it's two world. But in terms of the West, I don't think there's any difference in the governments. And that's kind of the point that we're making, and maybe why the Charlie Kirk case is so crucial, because it's showing us that, wait, what is the divide here between America and Israel and France, right? I just told people that somebody in the French government alerted me to an assassination attempt. Shouldn't that require a comment from the President of the United States? Shouldn't the President of the United States be forced to make a statement about that? He received that information. Wouldn't you think it was the most viral global story for 3 days, and the White House has chosen not to comment? What does that signal to the population? That it's okay for France to be involved in assassination attempts? That they're, at least if he thought that I was completely making it up and I gave him the evidence and it was made up, he would be required to come out and say, we are looking at that situation and that there's nothing here. There's no evidence of that. They're doing none of that. And that should alarm people. That should very, very much alarm people. I believe that there is some truth to what David Icke has said and what Alex Jones has said, people before them have said, that there has been these dark, demonic, satanic cults. It's the reason why I started my book club, because I needed to understand where this was coming from in the only way that it can make sense, which is that these people are being guided by a theology, right? This goes back to one of the more brilliant things that my husband said right when we, I guess you could say we dated for 18 days, but I was like, why did you read theology at Oxford? Like, what a boring subject. And he said, everything is theology. And I've now realized he's right. They are guided by a theology. And I had to then go back and try to understand Sabbatianism and Frankism. Do you know a bit about this?
No, explain them.
Yeah, so I, at the same time that I'm sort of questioning what's going on, I, for whatever reason, fell into a hole regarding modern psychology, Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud, factually, okay, there's no disputing this, because the Ashkenazi Jewish director of the Sigmund Freud archives, who was working under Anna Freud, and he was about to become the next director, so he was the assistant director, decided, I'm going to actually learn German so I can read all of his notes that have not been published to the public. He was studying to be a psychoanalyst and was like, this is amazing. I have access to all of this stuff. So this guy's name is Jeffrey Masson, very brave man. He's now like 84. And I'm so glad that his book is flying off the shelves in his old age. So he reads Sigmund Freud's notes and he goes, wait a second. Sigmund Freud famously came up with this theory that children were attracted to their parents and that they were having these dreams and these things never happened to them. And then he says, no, he actually knew that these children were being he knew. And he knew some of them were being to death. He had gone down, he had seen the evidence at the morgue. And so he goes, oh, this is crazy. He runs to Anna and he says, hey, your dad, we've made this big error. Your dad actually was gaslighting these kids and gaslighting these people who were being incestuously. And so he thinks he's going to run to the psychoanalytic people and say, ta-da, we can now correct history. And what happens is he gets kicked out. He gets kicked out and he publishes the book anyways with the proof that Sigmund Freud knew this, and Anna Freud did not stop him from publishing the book, which is very interesting. She had the power to, and they were pressuring her to stop the publication of the book, but she let it fly. And that book, The Assault on Truth, it's a very difficult read. It is the number one thing people should read because he is the father of modern psychology. Okay, modern psychology is gaslighting. Funny thing about Sigmund Freud, which is even more compelling, is he too, for years, when he first got into psychoanalytics, he said, "Oh, these kids are actually being." And that was his poorly named seduction theory, that these kids are not lying. These kids are being by their parents, and here's the evidence for it. And then he does this flip when he turns 35 and says, never mind. And this is when he's hailed as a hero. And similarly, he was rejected when he was telling the truth from his own psychoanalytic community in Vienna. And then he changes his mind, is Sigmund Freud and the Jewish mystical tradition. Sigmund Freud came from a Sabbatian family. This is Jewish mysticism. It actually has nothing to do with the Torah. It has absolutely nothing to do with the old law. In fact, they said the old law was fulfilled, and they believed that this man, Sabbatai Zevi, was their Messiah. They've virtually wiped this man from history, even though half of the world Jewry followed him, believed he was the Messiah. He was a homosexual psychopath who believed in practicing incest as a sacrament. That this is how they were going to move forward in the world. And this was they worshipped the Kabbalah. Their high book is the Zohar. Thank you. It was like the Zohar. And they believe that you your kids when they're 7, but you don't tell them why they're until they're 35. Now, this is an inversion of, some people tell me, of the mystic tradition. It's kind of from the Book of the Dead in Egypt, really. But they their kids, and Sigmund Freud discovered that the reason that they do this is Sigmund Freud's work, is because it conditions the child to grow up to be a psychopath because of what they have to go through trying to understand why their parents did this. This is all real. This is not, all of these authors are Jewish. They support the Jewish movement. The second author, David Bakan, I think actually regrets writing his book because he thought it was going to be this like expose of, why the Jews in Europe should be sympathized for. And then people went, wait, what's going on here? There's all this incestuous happening. And I think this is actually the reason, and I encourage Jewish people to read this book as well. I don't think they know their own history because at this time there was a great schism. There were actual Jews who were following the Torah to the letter of the law, who were getting kicked out of countries because of these Sabbatian Frankists who were actually kids.
Okay, so just to break that down for anybody listening, it's basically the concept of the synagogue of Satan. I even talked about this on Greg Carlwood's show, which is the synagogue of Satan is this group of people that recognize the reality, the matrix code of reality, which is the Torah, right? And so by twisting and contorting, they open these doors for demons. They're allowing transgression and curses to happen and those underneath them. It allows them to rise in prominence. And some of the topics that Candace talks about, I kind of wonder, Jeremiah, how hard it would be to get her on the show to do an interview.
Man, I would love to get her on the show because I know my wife would get a kick out of it. Lindsay would love it because she follows all of it. I don't have time to follow all of it, but when she has it on downstairs, I'll go down there and watch. But she's on to some of the stuff. She's right on point. And then some of the stuff, it's very skeptical, but she could be right, We don't know. I mean, who am I to say that she's wrong? She's done more research on the topic than I have.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, she's saying some very interesting things, and the connections she was making there on that show, I don't think those are completely out there or crazy. And as she's being painted as this deranged psychopath conspiracy theorist because of, Charlie Kirk said topic, you see some of these other things that she's bringing up are actually good research and noble mentions of some dark connections ideologically in different groups, and that's why this is the last of the longer videos. But I do have an interesting Flat Earth segment, so you guys stick around and don't forget, we have an amazing Opa's Corner and History's Mysteries coming up. Ding ding. And now check this out. 2026 is going to be pretty crazy. Are you ready for what's coming? All right. Well, archaeologists discover a cube-shaped head, human skull in Mexico. So, I thought that was kind of interesting. They're always finding weird-shaped humans over the years. Check this out. Trump will sign an executive order to stop states from regulating artificial intelligence. This one is very important. I believe he's trying to keep the control of AI out of the state's hands, which is very concerning to me. Here is a little FE clip from Flat Earth Library, and it's because the topic came up on Greg Carlwood's show, and I'm sure people are going to be tuning back to check us out. So this had some really interesting topics that are worth considering whenever you're looking into the Flat Earth realm.
Definitely no one can be told what the Matrix. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
But anyways, there's just a lot of questions is all I got to say. And so if you guys are interested, check out my documentary that's on our channel here, What If the Earth is Flat? Drop a like, share it out. It has a lot of
What If the Earth is Flat?
interesting,
Come on, guys. It's free.
Hey!
It's definitely on our YouTube channel for free, guys. You can't argue with the free documentary, guys. Keeps you
Go get it.
entertained.
Go watch it.
It's on our For You page. Go check it out.
So I don't know if you saw, but there's a P. Diddy movie coming out on Netflix.
Mm-hmm. Excuse my sense of humor about 50 Cent saying who the worst supervillain is, and you'll get a kick out of it for sure.
Well, then this clip will go right along with it. It's 50 Cent made sure to put this clip in his documentary. Somebody was filming it. Check this out. It's hilarious.
See my errors, know my faults, time halts, see my loss. Break the faith, fall from grace, tell me lies, time flies, close your eyes, come with me. Right? That was my version, right? He go, hear my cries, hear me calls me need. See my faults, see my errors, know my faults, time halts, see my loss. Know I'm like, I'm like, bro, that is not what I said.
We talked recently in our live stream about the last pennies ever being minted, and here's famous Pawn Star host Rick talking about how the penny could be very valuable.
We're going to auction all these off, and
they're all bald.
The money will then be put back into the treasury, and we're going to help pay down the national
What happens
debt.
when you work with
They're
pennies?
going to auction them off. Rick Harrison of Pawn
Now they're
Stars
bald.
knows more about valuable coins and other
I have
treasures
that
than
same,
anybody we know.
Trump signature
so,
that's
Rick,
behind
somebody
on his
walks
left
into
shoulder
your gold and silver
on that
pawn
book.
shop with one of the last pennies ever made. How much are they getting for it?
People are throwing out $1 million numbers. I don't think it's going to be that much. I think they'll probably go for a couple $100,000 a piece. Coin collectors do go nuts, but there's a lot of other coins out there that they for $1 million that are a lot cooler. So I'm just saying. But no, it's kind of makes sense that we're getting rid of it. I'm sure the nickel is the next thing to go because I think we're paying like 9 or 10 cents to make a nickel. So it's just when the government prints a lot of money, the smallest denominations go away first.
And I know that the government thinks they're going to get $2 to $5 million for these last 5 pennies each. And people are already mad. Collectors are mad that the treasurer who minted the pennies touched them because they think the oil from his fingers could somehow eventually corrode the copper. Does that matter for a piece like this, a history-making piece like this?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's this whole, coin collectors are, a little crazy, and it's the more perfect the coin, the more perfect the coin is, and there is an outer coating of copper on, current pennies or cents are not pure copper. They're zinc and they've got a copper layer over them. But a fingerprint on any coin brings the value down. So I don't know what they were doing, but they did it. But still, there's only going to be 5 of them. It's going to be, if you get all the gazillionaire coin collectors out there, there's only 5 of them, and they're going to look at their buddy. Well, do you got one? I do. So that's going to drive the price up.
And the last one on the pennies, for people watching, should they go through the sock drawer right now, like this afternoon, and see if they've got some valuable piece of money, or have all the good ones been taken out of circulation by now?
Almost all the ones good. I mean, you would have to go through millions of pennies to find one worth like $5. That's just how this is the way it works nowadays. I mean, back in the day, when not as many people collected coins, that could happen. But it's just not going to happen. I'm just saying.
All right. So, did you guys ever collect coins or find rare coins, on just happenstance? And what do you think about the end of the penny in relation to all of this fear of the global financial reset?
Well, I remember when they did the quarters, me and Opa collected all the quarters of all the states and everything. But I know Opa collected coins.
Oh yeah, I collected pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, 50-cent pieces, dollars, $half.
And those are out of circulation, so it's not a big deal, right?
Yeah, and I got some, I had some valuable ones. I have no idea where they are now today, but but I did have some valuable ones. And when I say valuable, we're not talking about $102,000.
Maybe today.
$200,000. We're talking maybe $25, $30 or something like that.
You never know. You never know. You just might have one of the last 5 pennies ever made if you get your hands on one of those Omega coins. Very interesting. All right, last clip of the day. People joke about alt education, right? You guys just had a show with Josh Keefe, and we're talking about doing a curriculum possibly, and it's interesting because more than ever, our children are starting to fall behind intelligence-wise. Check out this clip about some of the underperforming children of our generation.
Learning to read. Around 40% of our 4th graders can't read at a basic level.
I can't do it no more. I can't do it.
Why can't they do it? Because of how they're being taught.
The power that we are going to learn today, it's called picture power. Can we say picture power?
Picture power!
She's teaching reading using balanced literacy, a technique pushed by teachers' colleges that's supposed to make reading more fun.
The learning goal would be that the children were able to use a picture to figure out an unknown word.
They're training the kids to be bad readers.
Niels Hoven, who designed an app that teaches kids to read, says,
if you ask any parent who's teaching their kid to read, it seems fairly obvious. You teach them the letter sounds, and you teach them to blend those sounds together, and then your kids start reading.
That's called phonics. The National Institutes of Health says systematic phonics instruction produces significant benefits.
For some reason, for the past several decades in our school, this is not the way that they teach reading.
One reason is that liberal activists said phonics drills take the joy out of reading.
They're so boring. I swear they do a better job than Nembutal or Trazodone in putting children to sleep.
This balanced literacy teacher actually discourages her student from sounding words out.
Stop doing that. Stop. You can't sound out. I don't know why you started doing that.
Instead, the child should
look at the picture and
try to guess the word. Balanced literacy was widely accepted until 2 years ago, when podcaster Emily Hanford released a series called Sold a Story. parents told her.
It didn't seem like they were really teaching them to read. It seemed like they were teaching them to sound like they could read.
States quickly started passing new science of reading laws that put more emphasis on phonics. That upsets education professors like Andrew Johnson.
I'm a bald-headed liberal, but I've been teaching students how to teach phonics for the last 29 years.
Guy.
Johnson says the balance between phonics drills and real books should be up to teachers.
A teacher's job is to help children fall in love with books. Based on the need of the kid, you design instruction.
What they've been teaching, he says, was just fine.
You don't want the government involved in stuff, right?
No.
Why are they getting involved in reading instruction?
Because you people screwed it up so badly.
Oh, me?
Education
Who are
professors.
we people? How did we screw it up? I hope they look back and call this the Hanford era. In 10 years, when they see this house of cards come tumbling down, when they see they've wasted billions of dollars on this boondoggle.
Some teachers' unions join him in opposing the new laws.
I'm impassioned about this because it's a social justice issue.
Johnson helped create this journal that publishes articles that say how literacy is taught has everything to do with race, class, and identity.
They jingle the keys and say, look at over here. It must be those bad teachers, while ignoring the social things like poverty.
Some teachers oppose phonics because George W. Bush pushed it.
Can a child read at grade level?
If George Bush is telling us what to do, we aren't going to do it.
Time magazine quoted teachers who called phonics dehumanizing, colonizing.
What about Ebonics?
The man telling us what to do.
And it became this holy war. We have all these scientists, all these researchers who are not political, and they've been in the labs, they've been looking at brain scans, they've been looking at rigorous studies, and we know that phonics is the way that kids learn to read.
A change in Mississippi provided more evidence.
Students here ranked last in reading.
But then Mississippi added more phonics, helped kids early, and held back those who couldn't read. Scores shot up faster than in any other state. People call it the Mississippi miracle. Mississippi went up, and where's your state? Down here, fifth from the bottom. Minnesota dropped because of your bad teaching.
My bad teaching. I wish the world were as black and white as that. I wish there were an algorithm.
There is an algorithm to teach reading.
Hovind uses it in his app.
The first step is memorize all of the sounds the letters make.
They both make me uncomfortable.
And the second step is learn to blend those sounds together. That's the entire reading algorithm. It's not rocket science. We have 2-year-olds now reading simple reading books, and I think we've really undersold what kids are capable of.
But
all right, very interesting. So yeah, there you have it. 40% of that younger generation having struggles just reading, and I know this is something that's very important because as we see culture shaking things and politics and ideological kind of shifts during the Great Reset, naturally the education program that comes in to bolster up this failure is part of that reset, because the next generation will have to be educated in the new way, so pay attention to that topic. I think it's very important to point out, and also make sure you're teaching your own children at least something, right?
Well, I'll say any dyslexic kid out there, just know that you can graduate high school with a 4th grade reading level. It will get better over time. I know that from experience. So
awesome. Well, that's all the news for this week, guys.
All right, Jake, thank you for another great current news as always. And now a quick look at my new book, Charlie's Big Adventures Around the World or Not.
Something in the mail today. When I open it up, see what it is. Look at that. Charlie, look at this. Look. It's you. Charlie's Big Adventures Around the World. We're gonna flip through it. Look at all that. Look at those things.
Here they are.
Two Danish boys.
So now if you guys buy this in our Babylon Rising bookstore, you get a free signed copy for the same price. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you guys want a special edition of the book, go there.
Check out our new and improved BabylonRisingBooks.com, where you can get Rob Skiba's books, bundles, DVDs, DVD-ROMs, videos, and so much more. You can even get Sheila and Jeremiah's books, so check it out now.
Now, before we go to Opa's Corner, I wanted to ask you guys something. If we put all the TrutherCon 2025 speakers on a DVD or a thumb drive or however, would you guys buy it? Let me know in the comment section. Or maybe even Jake wants to sell his documentary. Who knows? Would you guys be interested in new content on BabylonRisingBooks.com? I'd like to hear your feedback. Well, it's about that time for an all-new Opa's Corner. Take it away, Opa.
Mein Hut, der hat 3 Ecken. 3 Ecken hat mein Hut. Und hat nicht 3 Ecken, dann ist es nicht mein Hut.
Ipana presents Bucky Beaver Space Guard.
Russia, 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 here's the new Ipana with a brand new flavor. It's dandy for your teeth. It's decay germ, and he's headed this way.
I'm gonna make cavities in everybody's teeth. Now, Beaver, I'm gonna blast holes in your teeth. Ipana!
New Ipana knocks out decay germs best of all eating brands, including fluoride toothpaste. Russia, 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 here's the new Ipana.
I've never heard of Ipana.
With a brand new flavor, knocks out decay germs best. Fresh, clean, and minty, you'll
But I
like
love
it.
their ad.
New Ipana toothpaste.
The strange, the
It's a
bizarre,
$1,000 ad.
the unexpected. These are the kinds of subjects a man named Robert L. Ripley challenged us to
Believe it or not.
believe it or not, you.
Wally, believe it or not.
Believe it or not.
Believe it!
You're a loony.
Regular hugs boost health by reducing stress, improving heart function, and strengthening immunity.
Oh, Opa, I'm going to give you a
Believe
hug
it
now.
Or not. A Pennsylvania family's cat, Ray Ray, secretly hitched a 100-mile ride to New York City by clinging to the roof of their van. Believe it or not.
Can't believe they left their cat.
A group of turtle doves is known as a pitying. Believe it or not. During a celebratory hunt in 1807, Napoleon Bonaparte unexpectedly faced an attack from a swarm of overexcited rabbits. Believe it or not. The U.S. Navy diving manuals once included instructions on how to escape from a giant clam. Believe it or not. A single banana is called a finger.
I almost got eaten by a
group
giant
of
clam,
attached
guys.
Bananas is called
I lived that.
a hand. Believe it or not.
I believe it.
If a horse develops anhidrosis, or the inability to sweat, a common treatment is to give the horse beer. Believe it or not. Dr. Seuss wrote Green Eggs and Ham on a bet. Believe it or not.
Love that man.
The inspiration for the Star Wars character Chewbacca was George Lucas's dog. Believe it or not.
I believe that.
In Russia, there is a monument dedicated to mice used in laboratory experiments. Believe it or not. Starbucks coffee was almost named Cargo House. Believe it or not. Every year in Denver, there is an ultramarathon where participants are required to eat a menu item from 9 Taco Bell stops. Believe it
Jake, we should do that.
or not.
Okay.
In the original Back to the
Taco
Future
Warriors.
concept, the time machine was a refrigerator on a truck and powered by a nuclear blast at a test site. Believe it or not.
Yep.
Tennessee has 11 state songs, the most of any state. Believe it or not. Mosquitoes are the most dangerous animals in the world. Believe it or not.
Here comes Kellogg's Rootin' Tootin' Two-Gun Shootin' Candy-Covered Cereal, Sugar Corn Pops.
Yippee! Sugar Pops!
With milk alone, they're mighty neat, 'cause they're sugar-coated.
Boy, what a treat!
Kellogg's Sugar Corn Pops. Sugar Pops are top.
When
That
you ride
boy
the
is
race,
Eddie
sugar
Haskell.
pops with you, every cowboy knows it's the thing to do. Right out of the box when you take the rest.
That's why Sugar Pops taste the best!
Kellogg's Sugar Corn Pops. Sugar Pops are top. And don't forget, Kellogg's Sugar Corn Pops are loaded for action with
Were they
plenty
good,
of
Uppa?
He-Man energy. And this pure aluminum inner wrap keeps it fresh and crisp.
Mom loves Pops, and my Pop does too. And
Eddie
all the
Haskell.
kids love them just the way we do.
Kellogg's Sugar Corn Pops. Sugar Pops are tops.
If someone learns from a mistake, was it a mistake? Why do black olives come in a can and green olives come in a jar?
That's a great question.
The term takeout can refer to food, dating, and murder. I'm wondering, if poison expires, does it become more poisonous or no longer poisonous? I just found out that NAP means necessary adult pause. Makes sense to me. No one has ever been in an empty room. Noticing that 12 a.m. comes before 11 a.m. I just noticed that muffins spelled backwards is what you do when you take them out of the oven.
Or what Joe Biden does.
How is it that my brain can remember that I forgot something, but it can't remember what I forgot? If you have an ear of corn, you throw away the outside and cook the inside. Then you eat the outside and throw away the inside. And now a word from a sponsor.
Smell good ground coffee. That's Maxwell House Coffee.
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Listen to the sound of the Maxwell House Coffee pot at work. Pour a cup of this good-smelling coffee. It will taste as good as it smells because it's good ground Maxwell House. Maxwell House coffee is good to the last drop. Enjoy the rich, fresh taste of Maxwell House coffee. The ground coffee that tastes as good as it smells every time. Maxwell House.
I don't know how much longer I can stand living with 7 little men.
I don't know if I can survive living in a shoe full of children.
I like that one.
Starving artist sale. I can understand why you're starving. Nobody is going to pay good money for this stuff. What do you want to talk about first? The kleptomania or the hoarding? As Wally's teacher, I don't know how to put this, Miss Bulova, but, well, your son is a little slow.
Oh, that ain't right.
For the last time, Mr. Perkins, did you or did you not emit a particularly foul odor in front of dinner guests and then attempt to blame it on my client? And may I remind you, sir, you are still under oath. We found some pretty good-sized bejeebers inside you, Mr. Belvin. I'm afraid the only way to remove them is to scare them out of you. So we brought in a specialist. All of our mice are free-range, locally sourced, and personally played with by the chef.
That sounds accurate.
The Flat Earth Society's journey to the edge of the Earth. How the did we get right back where we started? We must have taken a wrong turn somewhere. Dude, I'm the only sheep for miles around. Cool it, will ya? Yikes! Who knew Border Collie Temps would send me to a godforsaken place like this? Just so you sees we ain't such bad guys, Louie. We gave you a flipper on one foot so's you's have a fighting chance.
That's fair. I feel like that's fair.
Turkey anatomy. The glances began shortly after they learned that inside of each of their friends was a magic bone that could grant them their greatest wish. Nostradamus's secret is almost exposed. Why does he have so many fortune cookies? Hey! I thought I told you kids to stay away from there.
That one's funny.
You're supposed to say what you're thankful for, not why humans should be thankful for you. I like my way better. In the UK, he's Wally. In the USA, he's Waldo. In Germany, he's Walter. In France, he's Charlie. In Sweden, he's Hugo. No wonder he's so hard to find.
Is that true?
Keep your friends close, your enemies closer, and anyone who feeds you closest.
Indeed.
Disney dark humor I missed as a child.
They're cannibals.
So, you say you saw the defendant unlawfully enter your owner's home. Huff! Objection, Your Honor. Counsel is clearly leading and feeding the witness. Good boy. Oh, an appetizer would be lovely. And Clara, please, whatever you dig out of the trash is always amazing. They won't let me play with the ornaments. It sucks. But at least I don't have to wear a dumb Christmas sweater. Dude, I'm right here. Jack and Jill updated. Alexa, order a pail of water online. Express delivery. You should turn over. I think you're getting a freezer burn. Oh, stop moaning. Honestly, I don't know why I bring you with me. You're up, Red. Flight simulator. Failed. Hit owl. Crashed into kitchen. Let's try it again. Rather than getting dressed up for online business meetings, Jen relied on her new Zoom facade. Haley's coma. Well, go on, spit it out, Edmund. What's your big discovery? You can't just pause at mid-sentence. To me, essential oils are what drips out of tacos. Friends who eat together are taste buds. And that concludes another Opa's Corner.
Oops. Now there's a happy accident. An accident that could lead to opportunity. But then he had to take off his hat. And uh-oh, poor guy. Dry, lifeless hair can take the fun out of your life, but you can put it back with Brill Cream. With Brill Cream, a little dabble'll do you. Watch Brill Cream put life in dry hair and fun back into your life. Brill Cream gives your hair that look the ladies love.
Excitingly clean, disturbingly healthy, so masculine. What?
Brill Cream, a little dabble do ya? Brill Cream, you look so debonair. Brill Cream, the gals will all pursue ya.
What's it made out of?
In your hair.
It's made out of beaver
Use
glands.
Brill Cream and put life in
glands.
your hair.
Mein Hut, der hat drei Ecken. Drei Ecken hat mein Hut. Und hat drei Ecken. Dann ist es nicht mein Hut.
Yeah, we're always dancing to that song. A little dab will do ya, huh? I wonder if they still make that stuff and what it's made out of. Do they still make any of that stuff up besides Maxwell coffee?
I don't know. Brill cream is kind of weird because that's the greasy stuff, you know, like the greasers back in the 50s. So I don't know if Brill cream's out, but it may be.
It's so crazy how they used to make commercials back in the day, because you know those were all time consuming, making it claymation and stuff. It's just so crazy.
Oh yeah.
Now it's just AI. We'll just make it look like it, you know. But thank you, Upload, for another great Opus Corner. Now, before we get into History's Mysteries, I got a great one for you. We're going to play a little ad from our good friend Kristen, so check it out. Are you a content creator, podcaster, or show host trying to do it all on your own? Booking guests, moderating chats, creating timestamps, and scheduling interviews? It's exhausting. That's where Kristen and Fellow Helper Agency comes in. Kristen is the ultimate behind-the-scenes pro. She makes sure your show runs smooth from start to finish. Whether it's securing an amazing guest, keeping your community engaged, or handling the scheduling chaos, you can count on her. Imagine focusing on creating great content while Kristen takes care of all the rest. Professional, reliable, and trusted. If you're serious about growing your show and building your audience, you need Kristen on your team. Visit fellowhelperagency.com today, because the right help changes everything. That's true, and make sure you check out Kristen's website because she is the best. Now it's time for an all-new History's Mysteries. So today for History's Mysteries, we're going to be talking about 3 unsolved mysteries. And since, you know, there's so much talk about UFOs coming from the water now that I've been saying for years, but nobody gives me any credit for, I thought we would do some dark mysteries from the depths, because you guys liked our water mystery so much. This is a compilation of 3 short ones, but this first one is going to be about something that happened on February 5th, 1958, where Colonel Howard Richardson and there's a missing atomic bomb. So check this out.
On February 5th, 1958, amidst the Cold War, a classified practice exercise was taking place with Colonel Howard Richardson, who was flying a plane from Homestead Air Force Base in Florida whilst carrying a Mark 15 atomic bomb. After doing a routine bombing exercise and beginning their return trip back to the United States, around 2 a.m. another fighter jet involved with the test ended up colliding with the B-47 mid-air. This caused damage to the plane, and given his locale at the time, he was instructed to ditch the bomb and land at Hunter Air Force Base in Georgia. Due to the repairs on the runway at the time, it was worried that if he landed, the weapon may explode upon impact. Here on his way back, Howard Richardson managed to dispose of the bomb in a shallow area around Tybee Island off the coast of Georgia, and hereafter he would land the plane safely. But despite this sigh of relief, shortly after, the search for the atomic bomb would create a new wave of concern. While practice flights should not be carrying any kind of plutonium trigger to detonate the bomb, it is still of concern as the bomb was believed to have been dropped so close to shore, and the weapon was still carrying a large amount of conventional explosives, as well as an undisclosed amount of uranium. Shortly after, this led to a wide-scale search to no results. While the testimony from the pilot and every other further explanation of the weapon has stated that no nuclear trigger was present, and according to official Strategic Air Command documents regarding flights during this time, there should have been no nuclear trigger. On the other hand, another document that was later declassified shows congressional testimony of the Assistant Secretary of Defense, W.J. Howard, where if you actually read the document, he was requested to attest to the categorized losses of particular nuclear weapons, where he categorizes the Tybee incident as a complete bomb, including the nuclear trigger, and that it was lost in the Savannah River. This seems to be a completely different story on behalf of the Secretary of Defense. And considering the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima was 15 to 16 kilotons output of TNT, this bomb that apparently did not detonate on this day was 100 times more powerful than that. Colonel Richardson ended up getting awarded a Distinguished Flying Cross for this particular incident, because as you can imagine, had this gone differently, things could have been a hell of a lot more messy. And in regards to what happened to the bomb thereafter that, in 2001, a hydraulic survey from the Department of Energy claimed that it was likely buried under 5 to 15 feet of silt at the bottom of Wausau Sound. But despite further efforts to search for it, as far as the official record goes, it is still a mystery.
Isn't that amazing that we were that close to being blown up? Anyways, let's get into our next mystery. And it's about a fishing boat and how I feel like those always seem to go missing. So let's check this clip out.
In 1968, a fishing boat by the name of El Fausto would meet a fate that to this day is far from understood. Located in Tazacorte, the fishing boat had numerous regular tasks. While obviously used for fishing, it was normal for El Fausto to transport goods like fruits, diesel, and other goods across the Canary Islands. The owner of the boat was a man by the name of Rafael Acosta, who employed a crew which consisted of two brothers, Ramon and Eliberto Hernandez, and their cousin Miguel Acosta Hernandez. It's worth mentioning that there was normally one other crew member aboard El Fausto. However, he would not be present for what was about to transpire. All of these men were in their 40s, and they all had a lengthy career as both sailors and fishermen. And where all of this came to a head was on July 20th, 1968. Towards the later part of the day, El Fausto left Tazacorte and headed to El Hierro, around 50 miles south of La Palma. This was a regular trip, and they had been carrying some cargo to be delivered at this destination. After arriving at their destination, they went about their usual duties and unloaded cargo, where sometime after that, they were approached by another man by the name of Julio Garcia, who had also been working there at El Hierro, but he had just recently gotten a call from his wife that his daughter was ill, and he wanted to make it back as soon as he possibly could to see her. Julio had explained to the men that he tried to catch another ride, but had missed the boat, and thus had asked the crew at El Fausto if they would give him a ride back to Tazacorte. Julio, desperate to get home to his child, offered to pay, but the crew instead offered to take him free of charge. After gathering various supplies for the trip, they began their 7-hour trip back home. This trip was made during the night, and they were expected to arrive at 10 a.m. in the morning on July 21st. However, something happened on this routine trip back home. While the conditions included a light fog in the morning, this was not typically a problem for this experienced crew. But when they ultimately never showed up that day, the families of the men started to worry. Subsequently, Rafael, the owner of the boat, had some of his employees begin searching along the route. Believing that they must have encountered some mechanical failure, Rafael theorized that he would find the men somewhere along the path. However, after this search turned up nothing, Rafael had contacted the local authorities to explain the situation, and the next day, a broadcast had been sent out to all the ships around the area, and further search efforts were launched by air from authorities. Yet despite perfect conditions on the 22nd, the various searches, both in water and from the skies, did not lead them to the boat. And after a few days of searching, quickly the situation had escalated from a boat lost at sea to a sunken boat, as it had no reason to be anywhere else, and thus halted the search effort. But the tides seemed to turn quickly on July 25th, as something unexpected had occurred. The Duchess, a British ship coming from South America towards the Netherlands, had spotted a small fishing boat that was seen adrift in the ocean. The boat's location was 120 miles west of La Palma, showing that they had deviated vastly from their intended route. The crew of the Duchess later checked on all of the men, and they were all there and all alive. This was quite the relief, as all of the men seemed to be in good shape, although they had been sunburned, hungry, and very dehydrated. Coming to their rescue, the crew members of the Duchess provided food, water, and other supplies, and had even gone as far as to offer a tow back to the island of La Palma. And while you might expect those men who were lost at sea to be grateful for such an offer, they had insisted that their boat not be towed home. Instead, they asked to be given extra fuel and other supplies, as they wanted to make it back to Tazacorte on their own. When they were asked about why they had gone missing in the first place, they didn't really give an answer. They were also asked if they had some issue with their vessel. They'd all replied that nothing was out of the ordinary. Shortly after, the families were contacted about this discovery, and they were elated. Thereafter, the Duchess crew agreed to their request and sent the men off with ample supplies. They were reported to have been headed back east in the correct direction. Given their locale, it was estimated that they would make it back home at around 7 p.m. that same night, where here many people from the town had eagerly awaited their return. But soon that anticipation would lead to disappointment, because once again, the men had mysteriously never made it back. Not wanting any time to go to waste, the authorities once again began their search the next morning. They established a new reference point for their search based on where the boat had been last seen, this time dispatching multiple planes as well as the various search efforts they had done before. But once again, the search yielded nothing. El Fausto was officially lost again, and things were quiet for at least a couple more months, because on October 9th, 1968, at around 11 in the morning, an Italian merchant ship by the name of Ana de Mayo was headed to Venezuela and had spotted the boat floating off in the distance. After getting close enough to decipher its call sign, the merchant ship had indeed rediscovered El Fausto. After getting within distance to board the ship, everything had appeared to be in good condition. The crew had completely vanished, no signs of violence were seen, scene, but they couldn't find any logs aboard the ship to try and figure out what had happened to the crew. That was until he opened the hatch of the boat. Here, a dead man was found lying on his back, looking up. The condition of the body was decaying, and he appeared to have passed away some time ago. Searching further for clues as to what happened, the crewman from the Ana de Mayo found a journal with various pages ripped out. Some of the earlier pages contained various sets of numbers, and after that, 28 pages were ripped out of the journal. And although the Ana de Mayo's crew member did not speak Spanish, he figured this final page was a goodbye note, while various other pages just seemed to be various calculations and other numbers. Shortly after, the authorities were notified of this discovery, and Ana de Mayo had agreed to tow the boat back home with various documents that they had found and turn them into authorities. But just 2 days after this, as they were towing the boat back in, the Italian vessel had later reported back that while en route, El Fausto had sunk bow first overnight. This took the body that was inside with it, and hereafter, the notebook along with the various documents that were retrieved were given back to the authorities. As it would turn out, the notebook belonged to Julio, the same man who had asked for a ride home back in El Hierro. The final pages did in fact contain a goodbye note and gave specific instructions to his wife on how to claim all the funds owed to her, as well as instructions for selling his properties, among other duties, so she would have money after his passing. The final pages indicated to not tell their son what had happened to him. But obviously the mystery here in this situation is the lacking bit of context. Given that 28 pages were ripped out of this journal, this statement could mean a number of things. Not only that, no reference to any kind of violence on the ship, and no clues as to what happened to the rest of the crew was ever found. Moreover, the question stands as well why they refused to be towed back, and a reluctance to give an explanation seems to indicate some other kind of objective. While theories have ranged far and wide on this case, including the men witnessing something they shouldn't have at sea, being involved in some kind of illegal activity, what doesn't seem to fit was the fact that these blue-collar family men with no criminal past didn't seemingly have any reason to randomly turn to crime. And while you might suspect some suspicious backstory from Julio, as he was the only variable for this particular trip, it's worth mentioning that it was later confirmed his daughter was indeed ill at this time. However, I find it suspicious that if he was in such a rush to get home, then why after a 3-day delay would they say that everything was fine? And while some people have suggested the effects of the sea may have caused him to act irrationally, I suppose Julio is still rational enough to write thoroughly detailed instructions regarding his passing. And while I've seen some people critique the journal as a red herring, as this particular notebook was used for business transactions as well as other to-do lists, meaning that it would not be too uncommon for pages to be ripped out. However, it's rather odd that in the final note, Julio stated not to tell her son what happened to him. This is odd because she would presumably not know either. Given how complex this case is, there's a lot of room for interpretation. Some people have theorized that some of the initial boats have lied. Some people theorize they were leaving the country. Others have theorized that the Italian boat may have learned the full details of what had happened in that journal, as they seem to understand the end of the book, but wanted to simply spare the family the details. But that being said, there's definitely a lot of room for interpretation on this roller coaster of a story. But as it stands today, the true fate of El Fausto remains unsolved.
Now for my next and my last mystery, we're going to be talking about the missing DHL co-founder, Larry Hillblum, who is a lot like Epstein, but from Saipan. This story is so crazy I might have to cover it for its own mysteries at some point, but yeah, before I get Jake and Opa's opinions, I want to play this last one for you, so check it out.
Now, when it comes to the company DHL, many of you have probably not heard its backstory. As I'm probably guessing, the company has done their best to gloss over the details regarding their founder. DHL, as an acronym, stands for the 3 initials of the men who founded the company, where the H was the main person responsible, that being a man by the name of Larry Hillblum, a man that had some very Jeffrey Epstein-like tendencies. He set up his headquarters on the small island of Saipan, a tax haven that, while still technically a U.S. territory, did not have the reach of the IRS. Here he began using his massive amounts of wealth after his success with DHL to treat this area like his own personal playground. He owned the island's bank, he owned the island's phone company, he owned the island's cable company, he owned many of the restaurants there, as well as the newspaper there, and he served as a seat on their Supreme Court as a special judge. This was the jurisdiction of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, where he was heavily involved with lobbying, and he also became a diplomat on behalf of the CNMI to Vietnam. And when he wasn't busy working, he was busy being a gross predator. Apparently, this was a very open secret that the guy had a thing for very, very young girls. And despite his live-in girlfriend being 16 when he met her, nobody seems to have ever said anything. And not only that, Hillblum would reportedly pillage the underage girls in the local area and keep other women on his payroll in other places like Manila, where he would have them find young girls for him on his behalf. Now, with that being said, it's worth questioning what actually happened to Hillblum later on. On May 21st, 1995, Hillblum would disappear on a regular flight from Saipan to Pagan. The weather was reportedly cloudy, so they were unable to land the plane, and as a result, they had decided to turn back around. On his way back, he made a call to his girlfriend asking him to pick him up at the airport. Whatever caused the plane to go down into the ocean this point after is a complete mystery. And whatever caused this to happen, it caused it to happen very quickly, because no SOS signal was ever sent from the flight, along with no flight recorders, as this was an older plane. Hillblum was at first misidentified for the pilot and reported as dead, but as it would turn out, he was the only body that was never recovered from this plane crash. Now, assuming this plane crash did in fact do him in, this was quite interesting, as in 1993, just 2 years prior, he had survived another plane crash. The injuries were apparently so significant that it prompted him to get facial reconstructive surgery, where he was noted to look vastly different. Sometime after Hillblum's presumed death, a DHL executive was reported to have visited his residence and disposed of his computer, where he later instructed that same live-in girlfriend to hide all of his personal belongings. His house hereafter was noted to have been scrubbed clean of all DNA, with muriatic acid poured down the drains, and inside the house, not a single personal belonging of Hillblum's could be found. And this was rather convenient, because soon after, more and more women began to come forward telling the truth about what they had experienced with Larry Hillblum, where many women had claimed that Larry had been the father to their child. However, with Hillblum's body never recovered, and with nobody able to get DNA from his residence, it was impossible to prove this in a court of law via a paternity test. After a long and extensive legal battle between the estate and some of the children, the judge ended up forcing some of Hillblum's relatives to take a DNA test. This led to 4 out of the 8 alleged children settling out of court for around $90 million each. Continuing on, however, what is worth considering before Larry's disappearance were the suspicious events that led up to it. In late 1993, he ended up getting audited by the Mariana Islands. Auditors had found a capital gain of around $226 million in a single transaction, as well as other various unreported income over multiple years. He was apparently facing a tax bill of around $97 million if he stayed in Saipan. Also in the early 1990s, he had begun funneling money into Vietnam, which at this time was illegal as there was a trade embargo for U.S. citizens from the Vietnam War, where he was reported to have invested $100+ million there. Larry used his role as a diplomat to Vietnam through the CNMI to build close ties with their government. The money from these investments were meant to restore various resorts across the country, where Larry was noted to have used these hotels for his personal reasons. And later on, the U.S. State Department had begun inquiring into his activities in Vietnam, where he reportedly told the U.S. government to F off. And just several weeks before his disappearance, one of the main hotels that he had invested in had its grand opening. This has led to some speculation that Larry Hillblum did not pass away in that plane crash, and in fact had simply faked his death in order to move on to a second life in Vietnam. However, I must say there are a lot of unknowns to this story. For one, we have no idea how much Hillblum was actually worth. The guy was notorious for making any kind of paper trail next to impossible to find the guy, and only he fully knew the wealth of his estate. He often got frontmen to do his bidding, and to explain what I'm talking about, during the legal battle for his estate, a trail of papers had ended up leading back to one of his close friends, where his friend had been the sole owner to a corporation that held a several million-dollar apartment complex in Saipan. When this was found out, the guy had no idea and was never managing it, and ended up handing the apartment complex back to the estate. The only proof of this guy being on that plane that day comes from his live-in girlfriend, who was the same one who was later disposing of his personal belongings and hiding evidence. And that destroyed computer from the DHL exec puts even more details in the dark. The third mystery here is what time the plane actually had crashed, as the search efforts had only begun the day after. With only about a fourth of the plane ever being recovered, there's no way to know what actually caused the crash. And what I found to be incredibly puzzling regarding this guy's case is just how difficult it is to find any info on him. The only documentary on this guy has been purged from the web, and the only book detailing his life writes it under the pretenses that he's dead, because in one of the opening sections he writes, "For efficiency's sake, I must assume that Hillblum is actually dead, and not basking beneath a Southeast Asian sun somewhere, surrounded by nubile young women, pineapples, and Vietnamese coffee. As many still believe, including agents of the Internal Revenue Service and the U.S. Department of State, I must disregard the former governor of Guam, who claimed to have seen Hillblum recently on a trip to Thailand, as well as an MIA organization that may or may not possess physical proof of Hillblum living in that country. Hillblum's estate chose not to verify the latter, despite paying out nearly $200 million to law firms, of which millions have been spent chasing less credible rumors. While I will note that the remainder of Hillblum's estate was apparently around a conservative $600 million by the time all the legal processes were over, and the remainder was donated to medical research. However, that's not to say that everything was fully accounted for, as trying to figure out the full net worth of a secretive billionaire puppet master who founded a globally present company and spent the majority of his life hiding money away from the IRS is just as difficult as now finding any evidence of Hillblum at the bottom of the ocean.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but that seems very sketchy to me, and I'm interested what your thoughts are, Jake, about all three of these stories, especially the last one seems pretty sketchy.
Yeah, the one comment I have is the guy had multiple airplane crashes. That's correct, right?
That's correct.
Well, it makes me wonder if he was using airplane crash as a synonym for getting his face punched in at a bar or something. like what what do you got to do to go through multiple air flight failures and survive? This guy was a spectacle.
I know, right? What about you, Uppo? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think the one on the boat is the guy that was going home for his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he was basically planning his
Suicide,
yeah, and that way his family would get a bunch of money. I don't know what his financial circumstances were at the time, but it sure sounded like with all the instructions there about how to get all the money that they needed, it sounded to me like he was he took over the boat and sent it out in a completely wrong direction, and probably had the crew tied up and everything. And so when they found it the first time, let's go. We'll go back. Just give me some more fuel. And then, he still sent it out in the middle of nowhere.
What about the last one?
Well, the last one, he could have, figured out a way to get out of the airplane before it crashed. And
like D.B. Cooper.
Yeah.
Maybe he is D.B. Cooper. How about that for a mystery?
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible.
So you guys let me know at home what you guys think, and I'm very interested to see what you guys have to come up with. And if you have any other leads, let me know. So now for our last segment, it's time to laugh with an all-new, please excuse my sense of humor. Tell me your favorite video in the comments, and if you're offended by any of these videos, I'm sorry that you cannot take a joke. Let's roll it up. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Costco, but that's exactly what it's like.
They're frickin' interdimensional invaders, okay? I'll just say it. Make fun of me all you want on CNN or wherever, but everyone already innately knows this. These people are not frickin' humans, okay?
It just hit the second tower.
Get out of that casket and walk. You're healed. I've done it again. Pass the collection plate. Amen?
Allowed to say Merry Christmas, you filthy animal, but the minute you say Happy Hanukkah, you filthy animal, it becomes a hate crime. I guess some type of a line gets crossed when you switch the holidays.
You tried this with other holidays?
If you say Happy Kwanzaa, you filthy animals, it's also a hate crime.
Look at that cat. He's just enjoying his life. Oh, that's what our cat. That's how our cats greet us at the door, and we do it back.
Respectfully, who gives a shit about Mexican food? Sure, it tastes good, but every dish is the exact same thing. Everything is a taco, but they call it different things. It's bullshit. If I served a burger to you upside down, it's still a burger. Okay, it doesn't become a salad. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Someone else has had to have picked up on this as well, right?
See? Do
Got it.
Thank you. My wife, she make this cheese. Very nice. She make it from a milk from her teeth.
Out here chilling on Gay Street. That's a great place to put the Holocaust Memorial.
And there's no one there to tell them. You poop in the toilet. Not on the floor. And you don't want to tell them because that's racist.
We are Charlie Kirk, we carry the flame, we will fight for the gospel, we know his name.
Chew on every topic.
Here you go, Jake, your favorite clip from last week. I left it in there. Because, you know, when people call you a racist, just say you're a Power Ranger fan. Why not?
What do you do?
Not a racist, I'm a Power Ranger.
Recently retired.
You are retarded.
Power Ranger.
And now,
Physical or mental?
retired. No, not retarded. I don't work anymore.
Stopped working.
Stopped working.
It's very good you allow Rita to eat with you in the same place.
Go ahead and open them.
Yes,
the Epstein Files playset, just what I wanted.
Oh, baby! I wanted an Epstein Files playset too.
Release the Epstein Files, set the secrets free.
It's the Epstein Files playset.
Crack open classified folders, spin audio evidence, and shred like a pro. Find the truth or cover it up. The choice is up to you.
When you do this,
buy that toy.
It sometimes gets confused from the way it behaves. I don't think it's amused.
This was severely copyrighted, but you can kind of
Please
hear
do
it.
that to Charlie. Put the cat costume on and watch. You film what they do to you.
I will.
Your favorite villain?
My favorite villain?
I kind of like Diddy.
We got a nigger. I didn't know they were called that. I mean, I've always called them lobsters.
This one's very
Snow
funny.
is blowing, lanterns glowing, here begins our tale. Rankin and Bass present the story where Christmas
Hold it right there, mister.
Hands where we can see them, Kringle.
But I'm Santa. Yeah, and you're here illegally, buddy. We got the illegal. I'm just delivering toys. Tell it to the judge, Claus.
I prevented a murder today. Really? How? Self-control.
If you're trying to pick up a black Sharpie this week, good luck. Across 3 states, they're gone. And it's not a holiday hoarding issue. It's the Department of Justice. Sources tell Local 9 the agency bought out every permanent marker in the region as it prepares to redact and release a trove of documents known as the Epstein Files.
Chris, what have you been seeing?
It's pretty wild. I've been to every store in a 20-mile radius. Staples, Office Depot, even a grocery store down in Falls Church. No Sharpies anywhere. Some shelves are completely bare, and the ones that do have them are limiting how many you can buy.
Hey, who wants to go to Biloxi and walk the beach? See if there's any hotties out there.
Where's his neck?
Let me know. We'll make a daytime drive. Let me know.
None of it's true. None of it's true. None of it's true. It's BS. They made it up. They lie.
Just have to get up. As long as we keep the faith, summon hope, we get back up and remember who in the hell we are. We're the United States of America.
What did he just say?
Check the prompter.
The prompter's fine. Read the copy, please. The copy's good. Just read it.
That's who we are. We're the U.S.
So I hope you guys enjoyed my dark sense of humor. I think it's funny. I mean, if you guys don't know, what's your favorite, Jake?
You know, do you remember that scene in, I can't remember if it's Bruce Almighty or the one where he like types.
That's that one.
And okay, so yeah, that's hilarious that they're doing it to Biden there, man. That it's like, you know, sometimes you wonder if there literally was like a Neuralink in Biden keeping him running. And that's what the whole auto pen thing was, is he was automating it from his mind.
one funny thing that Trump did do when he pardoned the turkeys was he repardoned Joe Biden's turkeys because he said an auto pen pardoned him, which was so funny. But Opa, what was your favorite?
Power Rangers.
Oh yeah. And you guys at home, let me know in the comment section which one was your favorite. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Jake, thank you for another great current news as always. Opa, thank you for another great Opa's Corner, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode as a whole. Stay awake, not woke, subscribe, and stay tuned. If you like what we do here on Skiba News Nation, please like and subscribe, and also share with others so we can grow the biggest truth-seeking community on the internet. Huge shout out to all of our Patreons out there. If you like bonus content, you want some extra Skiba News Nation stuff, please go to patreon.com/Skiba News Nation.
Son of the legendary Jeremiah Skiba.
It's like they don't even want to wake up.
He's on a quest for truth.